Heard the rumor before? That small decisions become avalanches? Tonight we watch one of those avalanches. A family fracture, greed dressed as bravado, and a plan so raw it tastes like regret. Picture a cramped living room, a single lamp buzzing overhead, a group of men whose smiles don't reach their eyes. The air smells of cheap cologne and old promises. At the center of it all is Ryan, slick, confident, the kind of guy who believes money buys audacity. And across from him, jaw clenched, is Steven, the older brother who always thinks he's owed the world. What starts as a petty humiliation spirals into deception, betrayal, and a desperate gamble that rattles everyone involved. Ryan's voice cuts through the room like a match strike. "You want what, my wife?" he sneers, amusement curdling into something meaner. It's not joking. The proposition is obscene, wrapped in money and bravado. The man opposite him, the desperate suitor, answers without embarrassment, "I'll pay. Lot." There's a brief, shameful pause where the idea of a transaction for intimacy hangs in the air. No one in that room seems surprised anymore at how low people will stoop. Ryan grins like a gambler who's just been offered a wild hand. "Take off your mask," he orders, the challenge anything but subtle. The suitoress hesitation anchors the scene, a human moment of vulnerability in a room that's forgotten compassion. But this isn't simply a tawdry barter. The camera, or your mind SI, should linger on tiny tells. The subtle tremor in the suitor's fingers as he peels away the bluff, the way Steven's anger simmers but doesn't boil. This whole thing feels staged, and it is. Beneath the crude offer, there's a test. Who will flinch first? Who will be exposed as weak? Who will be the one to trade dignity for money? It's a morality play disguised as a petty crime. Meet Noah, the woman caught in the center of this storm. She's not a prize, yet the men treat her like one. She laughs at first, a brittle sound, then grows quiet, watching the men perform their masculine theater. Ryan, with an arrogance that borders on cruel, tries to control the scene. "Give me the money," he says, as if the bundle of cash can rewrite his marriage. He hands over a thick stack, hands that never tremble until the moment they exchange paper. The suitor peels back the first bill, and something like triumph flickers in his eyes. The triumph is fragile. The paper is only as convincing as the story that backs it. You don't need to see every movement to feel the deception creep in. You feel it in the room's temperature drop, in the way conversation gets clipped and breathy. Ryan's brotherhood with Steven is stained but not yet broken until the unthinkable happens. The suitor, blindfold removed, reveals himself, and the room dissolves into chaos. "Steven," Noah gasps. The betrayal lands like a physical blow. The camera would cut two faces. Ryan's smug expression crumbles. Steven's face flushes with disbelief and shame. And Noah recoils as if the ground under her feet has been yanked away. It's a raw, human moment that asks the audience, how well do we really know the people we call family? The fallout is immediate and ugly. Words become weapons. Accusations ricochet, and the family's fragile veneer fractures. Ryan tries to play it off like he's always been up for it, as if his history of affairs is some twisted badge of honor. But Noah's silence is louder than his excuses. She leaves, dignity intact though shattered, while the men scramble to salvage their pride. This is the first of many illusions to be stripped away tonight. Cut to a new scene. The suitor, now emboldened by cash and the taste of impropriety, struts into a dinner party as if he owns the night. He's been elevated, or so he thinks, by the deal he made. The house is brighter here, laughter spilling from the kitchen, the clink of cutlery like a soundtrack for normalcy, but the cracks show. Ryan attempts to charm his guests with a practiced grin, and Steven tries to mask the betrayal with jokes that fall flat. Noah sits at the edge, quiet and distant, a portrait of composure that hides a storm, and then a twist. The cash that fueled a plan to humiliate is counterfeit. The revelation is pure, unadulterated chaos. Out goes Ryan's smugness, in comes panic. It's fake. Someone screams. The suitor's elevation collapses into humiliation so complete it leaves him raw. There's a delicious irony here. Money, the supposed measure of worth, now proves worthless. The men who bet their dignity on paper realize they were pawns in a cleverer, crueler game. The big reveal is not the cheating or the offers, it's the reminder that greed is often the dumbest currency to trust. Noah's reaction is complicated and human. She's hurt, but not broken. Angry but not vengeful in the obvious way. The suitor who tried to buy his way into a life he didn't earn slinks away, suddenly small. Stephen, who thought he'd exposed the truth, learns the hard lesson that sometimes knowledge of betrayal doesn't heal the wound. The house closes its doors on an evening that promised decadence and delivered ruin. Switched to another place entirely, the cafe where petty theft, guided by the kind of rationalization that feels too familiar, comes to a head. Michael, a man whose desperation is masked as opportunism, reaches into a disabled customer's purse under the pretense of helping. He tells a story as he does it, a tall tale about searching for an inhaler, heroic in its framing, and it's believable enough to get him close.
Oh.
But when the money disappears, the truth surfaces in the cruelest of ways. The woman's wallet is emptied, and dignity becomes a casualty. The cafe's owner, furious and protective, threatens consequences. Compassion turns into fury and then into justice, and the people who thought they could steal without being seen are forced to reckon. The scene is brutal because it's so ordinary: theft by hand, betrayal by logic, the erosion of empathy hidden behind excuses. Yet from that ordinary ugliness rises an unexpected current, a moment of solidarity. The disabled woman, humiliated but not helpless, is reclaimed by the community's outrage. Her purse is examined, and the thief is exposed. The owner demands the money's return. Michael, caught between shame and a twisted sense of bravado, protests. But his protest rings hollow. "It's my salary," he claims, as if self-justification is a shield. It isn't. Accountability arrives in a rush. The money is returned, apologies mumbled, and the idea of restitution hangs in the air, heavy and imperfect. But the narrative refuses to stop at petty crimes. The fired man, Michael, is not a villain in a single brushstroke. He's a complicated figure, fired, humiliated, and offered a dangerous way out. The cafe becomes his crucible. The owner's rage and the community's sympathy combine, and someone whispers a dangerous proposition, a plan to rob the cafe, taking's the very thing that sustained the business, to get revenge, to level the score. What starts as a conversation laced with bitterness becomes a plotted conspiracy. The promise is intoxicating, a chance to right perceived wrongs by stealing what was daily rightfully earned. This part of the story is where greed mutates into desperation. The conspirators are not masterminds. They are ordinary people, convinced their grievances justify extraordinary crimes. The planning is clumsy and anxious. They trade whispers for courage and currency for dignity. The escape route they rehearse is half-baked and entirely human, the kind of plan hatched in the shallow light of grievance that never survives daylight. On the night of the robbery, tension is a living thing. Hands shake, feet stumble. They think the register's closed, think the staff is distracted. They sprint toward what they think is a sure fortune, but real heists demand precision and nerves of steel, things they lack. The getaway is comic and tragic. One gets lost, another is distracted. And the moment of escape falls apart like a botched stage illusion. In the end, it's not dramatic explosions or chase sequences that break them. It's the ordinary, humiliating ineptitude of people who never belonged in the game.